So now our next speaker is an award-winning composer and media artist with over 20 years of teaching experience and an agent for collaborative innovation and social engagement in education institutions. Now, before our next speaker comes on the virtual stage, I would encourage you all to share your input in the Q&A feature. It would be really great to hear what your thoughts are. So now we look forward to being inspired. Hannes, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Rita. Welcome, everybody. And first of all, let me say that I'm quite happy and not too concerned about the future of education, as long as we have such alumni as Huang. I think it's very good and inspiring. So it's about learning environments, of course, also linked to the first speaker of James. When we talk about the future of education, I think it's good to look back to the history. And the picture you see now is from Bodie, a ghost town right on the border between California and Nevada. It was, I think, a very important settlement during the gold rush in the US. And it was, I think, people left from this town about 90 or 100 years ago. And when you walk through this town, this still things you think that time stopped there, and you can look through the different windows, and you can look, for instance, into the schoolhouse, and you see this as it was about 90 years ago. When you type into Google about modern classrooms, then of course you get several thousands of pictures, and all of them look pretty much like that. So if we ask ourselves, what is the difference between this? I think maybe we think nothing changed within these years. On the other hand, and it's as it's we talk about art and artful thinking, then we have to say something is changing in our relationship with music, and this is a part of an interview which Bill Drummond gave, I think, almost more than 10 years ago within the so-called Composers Forum in Mittersill. And Bill Drummond, I think. Most of you will probably know him as one of the members of the KLF, a very well-known band in the 1990s. And just let's listen to what he said.
But at the same time, I got myself an iPod. Now, theoretically, that's when it was first. Theoretically, I thought the iPod was the greatest gift ever for a music lover. I mean, you could have every piece of recorded music you could conceivably want to listen to there in your pocket, and you can listen to it wherever, whenever, while doing almost whatever. But within a month of having that iPod and all these pieces of music on it, you know, and my taste had broadened out over the years. But I'd be hearing a few bars, you know, and then I'd flick through to something else. And there was never, and I thought, is this happens with age? Your taste becomes jaded. And then I thought, I noticed teenagers doing the same thing, just flipping through. And I thought, something is changing in our relationship with music, and hugely, hugely. And I love it when things change, especially when one feels uncomfortable with that change. And I started imagining that recorded music, I started seeing recorded music as one of the main art forms of the 20th century. And as the technology to record music had evolved through the 20th century, it had seduced almost every form of music, whether it was classical, you know, pre-20th century music, world music, or jazz, contemporary classical music. It was all wanting to become recorded. Yes, me, please. Yeah, and that somehow reduced it all to one genre, whether you were listening to the well-tempered clavichord, how do you say that in?
Das wohltemperierte Klavier.
Okay, or to the latest German techno. It all had become this thing that you can sit and you can put on any time, and the relation, and you can switch off when you want. Music was no longer about time, place, occasion.
So music was no longer about time, place, location, and of course education is neither. So also something is changing in our relationship with education. Another thing is that many people tell us that data is the new gold, and I think we should really question about it. Is data the new gold? And at least, again, if we go back to music, to the arts, and to our experience, then I think it's pretty clear that data is not information. Information is not knowledge, knowledge not competence, competence not experience. And another quite famous musician, David Byrne from the Talking Heads, mentioned in his, I think, worth reading book, How Music Works, that early on, though, I realized that the same music placed in a different context can not only change the way a listener perceives that music, but it can also cause the music itself to take an entirely new meaning. And this is not only true for music, but also for the sounds as well. Just a problem with this. If we just look to these sound effects, I think you will agree with me. This is fire. And we had a project some years ago where we applied artificial intelligence or pattern recognition, more or less, on sound data. And at least the computer says this next sound, it's a walk on stones. Oh, sorry. Or the next one. Are at least from the very technical point of view, there are very similar data, very similar patterns, but they have totally different meanings. And again, it's the context that decides about our experience. And it's probably one of the easiest things when we come to education in the field of media technology, sound design, that, for instance, students have to change the noise of the seashore into the experience and the noise of, for instance, a motorway and so on. Totally different things about the same data. So it's not about the data, it's much more about the context, the experiences, and so on. So we think a lot about the future of education. We think about digital skills, about the future skills, challenge-based learning, new learning environments, and so on and so on. And I think we agree that we need a lot of innovation in this context. But what happens in a lot of schools and universities is the following. This is really an innovative approach, but I'm afraid we can't consider it. It's never been done before. So yes, we have to approach this kind of innovation. And if we think about innovation, we are back to James in California again. So this is not LA, but San Francisco. And I think this is what we think when we talk about innovation. And if we think about future of education and future of university, then usually the so-called Ivy League comes into our mind, whether it's Stanford or Berkeley or some others of these. I think, of course, these are important. Of course, it's still the Silicon Valley and the tech companies there who definitely shape our future and more or less decide pretty much about where we are going, if we like it or not. I think we should also come for another approach. And there is in Europe the European University Initiative, and this is, besides some other things, about partnership, about cooperation. And we have our European University Alliance called UDRES, and we are looking for a future university for smart and sustainable regions. And we try to combine very different places all over Europe, in Latvia, Hungary, Romania, Portugal, Belgium, and Austria, and try to think about this future of education or future of higher education. And one, I think, important aspect is that if back to Alexander von Humboldt, he talked about the unity of higher education and research. I think it's more or less obvious that this has to be expanded today to innovation on the one side, knowledge transfer with and for the society on the other hand. And it's very important, and it was in the chat before, that we have to integrate and interrelate these things as much as possible. And what we definitely need to co-create these inspiring learning environments is nothing less than what we call a new academic culture, we call it I culture, with the I standing for interdisciplinary, innovative, inclusive, international, intercultural, interrelated, interconnected, intense, and much more of these I's. So new content, we have to talk about the new future skills, about these cross-disciplinary approaches, cross-actor approaches, about the regional challenges, but also about the global connections and so on. And if we talk about these contexts, then it's quite interesting what this guy says. It's Jack Ma, probably you all know him as the founder of Alibaba, and he said this, I think, 3 years ago at the World Economic Forum in Geneva.
Learn from the mistakes, the other people. No matter how smart you are, you will encounter these mistakes. You learn from mistakes not because you will be able to avoid mistakes. You will able to, when these mistakes come, this suffer comes, you know how to deal with it. Value, believing, independent thinking, teamwork, care for others. These are the soft part. The knowledge may not teach you that. Folks, that's why I think we should teach our kids on sports, the music, the painting, art. So making sure humans should be different from, everything we teach should be different from machine. If the machine can do better, you have to think about education. Change the way we teach.
If the machine can do better, we have to think about it. And if a founder of one of the world leading Chinese tech companies tells us in Europe that we have to teach our children arts, then I think we definitely have to think about it. So it's we need some kind of new content, and we definitely have to enable and empower creativity to unfold our talents. And definitely, and it was already mentioned, we need art and tech thinking. We need not only the STEM, but the STEAM approach. I don't go more into detail this in here. We do not only need new content, we need new perspectives on all these several things, mission orientation, challenge-based education, inter-transdisciplinarity, and so on. So just to give you an example, what can happen, almost already also 10 years ago in our university, we did, for instance, what we called a media opera. In this case, we had artists, obviously. We had some archaeologists from the University of Oxford. We had colleagues from the Bauhaus University and so on. And we tried to more or less, it was a research project with the so-called Pitoti in the North Italian Valley, and a lot of prehistoric rock art was there, and the archaeologists had somehow the feeling that there is an interrelation with sound effects and so on. And what we tried to create is to regain this experience of these people in the 5,000 years ago, when they heard several echoes and all these kind of things. So this was a new perspective on scientific things using the arts, and I think we got quite a lot of very interesting insights out of that, through new perspectives and going in other things. What we definitely also need in this new culture, creating these new learning environments, are new methods. Open science, open innovation, science with and for society, responsible science, experiential and engaged learning, and so on. And what is necessary to make these things happen is more or less some kind of a new form of teachers. Instead of the all-knowing professor, we need these instructional coaches who do not only just have the lectures, but really interact in many things, and research together with the students, and so on. We need new forms of organization, and I think this is probably one of the most important one. And as you know, I'm part of the executive board, a manager in higher education, and if we come to higher education institutions, and I think it's quite similar to all other kinds of schools and a lot of institutions related to education, then the management structures, the governments date back maybe 100, maybe 200 years ago. And we are in many cases far away from agile management, and we are not prepared yet to really go on with innovation for several reasons. Some do better, some do worse. But I think we really have to think about these new forms, and we somehow have to introduce agile management into education as soon as possible. And it's no wonder that there are quite a lot of startups right there, and I think they more and more take over the roles that schools or universities have. So we have to look for the way we organize these institutions. This was Wernhauser said, one of her learned lessons: we need new partnerships, we need new collaboration. We have to evoke this team spirit, mutual trust and partnership, and so on. We have to empower the people, promote the talents, and act somehow as a platform for collaboration, platform for collaborative innovation in our universities. This collaboration has to go cross industry. So, for instance, when I taught in the media department at our university, we more or less started with film, music, and sound design. Then we came up and had the experience. These knowledge and these competences are also needed for interactive sound installations or media installations in museums. Then we had some kind of interesting projects together with our colleagues from our health department, physiotherapists. So we had what we called music enhanced training. We had several variables and so on, and in the end we came to the automotive industry and artificial intelligence, generative music, and so on. So this was a form of cross-industry collaboration, a lot of people thinking about very similar questions in many senses. And and it was a very fruitful thing for everybody. Collaboration across several industries, but also collaboration, science and education with and for society, which was very fruitful for us as well. And of course, we also need new environments in a large and extended sense. We need real world on-campus experiences, of course, online virtual things, extended reality, hybrid things, and so on and so on. We have to think about this in many aspects. I think probably one of the most important aspects, to my opinion, is that we have to open our classrooms, and at least sometimes we have to leave our classrooms to make and to evoke and to enable these kind of new experiences, to make collaboration happen, and so on. At our European University, UDRES, we try this in several aspects. We have our iLiving labs, for instance, where students from several disciplines and from several countries work on real-world challenges that come from our regional stakeholders. We have our hackathons. Hack to Change was the first thing, again connecting 6 European countries, and have had real-world challenges towards smart and sustainable regions. We have our, of course, also online research networks across our countries, and our pub quizzes. If you are interested in this, check out our website, udres.eu. The next science pub quiz is, I think, on February the 2nd. And of course, you are all also invited to this. To sum up, as I started with music, I will also end with music. So to create this new learning environments, I think we have to start to compose in the sense of creating new types of higher education or education institutions, new kinds of contents and study programs, new and individual learning paths. Wang spoke about the personalization, new strategies also for recognition of prior learning, and these kind of things. We also have to orchestrate, and orchestration, as Oxford Dictionary tells us, is to plan or coordinate the elements of a situation to produce a desired effects. So we have to orchestrate the new skills, new fields of research, new tools, new workflows, and many things else. Of course, we have to conduct, we talk a lot about participation and so on, and this is, of course, very necessary, and collaboration is necessary, but we also need to conduct, in the sense, the manner in which an organization or activity is managed or directed, and it needs also these persons who are doing and take this responsibility in this form of what I think agile management, to enhance these platforms for collaborative innovation, to just come to open innovation and citizen science, to evoke and enable entrepreneurial mindsets, and so on. And last but not least, of course, we have to interpret in the way how we understand an action, mood, or a way of behaving as having a particular meaning. So we need these new roles, and we have to interpret the new roles for our professors, our teachers, our educators, our researchers and innovators. And we need also the new roles for and with our students, and also some kind, for instance, of peer learning, also some kind of new profiles of study programs, short cycles and programs. There was I think, quite important high-level conference at the Forum for the Universities of the Future of Europe under the French presidency yesterday. And there was one colleague, vice rector from university in Barcelona, and he said nothing less that degrees are history. So this was, of course, quite provocative for a lot of universities for the future. So degrees are history, and we need new ways and new programs and so on. And last but not least, to once again sum up, we need these new learning environments to, at least from my point of view, focus on opportunities and challenges rather than on barriers and problems and financing and all these other things. We need this kind of new learning environments to enable creative ideas rather than enforce academic performance. And we need these new ways to interact and engage and entrepreneurial with various stakeholders within open innovation ecosystems. Thank you very much, and yes, please join us and visit us at UDRES. UDRES is the Engaged and Entrepreneurial European University as a driver for European smart and sustainable regions. Thanks a lot.